Hello everyone and welcome back to lesson number 29. Today's lesson is going to be on counterpunching. Counterpunching, so the reason I made this one is because it's an integral part about a boxer's style or a fight. We've talked about defense, we've talked about offense, but now counterpunching is basically your defense plus offense, right? I'm going to talk a little bit about the mindset of countering and where it falls into the boxing world. And then I'm going to just show you a counter to every single punch. And yeah, kind of like how we always do it when we learn something new. Now, punching. So there's two times to punch, or there's three, but there's two types of punches. There's punching first and punching second. So punching first means I'm initiating contact. Punching second is someone punching at me and then I punch back, right? So counter punching falls into the punching second area of things, not in the first. I'm not punching first, I'm punching second. I'm countering someone's punch. Now there's three types in that area and it's all kind of gray, and I'll explain a little bit better, but here they are. There's punching second, there's counter punching, and there's punching with the opponent. So those are the three: punching second, counter punching, and punching with. Okay, and the way, and starting from the first one to the third one, that's the level of toughness, or the level of technique you need. Now, the way I rate these three things, or how hard they are, is there's a couple components, but the main component is timing. Now, timing, as you know, takes experience, and a lot of things go into building up your timing. So that's how I build up, or how I categorize these three things based on timing. And I'm going to explain each one, and then we're going to go into countering. Now, punching second. So my opponent threw punches at me. They threw like a 1-2. They might have put their hands up, or they might have stepped back, or they might have disengaged, and they're not going to punch anymore. Now I'm punching, right? So this level of offense, or replying to the opponent's punches, doesn't take much timing, because it's kind of obvious when they're done punching and you just throw your punchings back. This is kind of a beginner thing, but this does sometimes leak into the pros and top level, when pros have an agreement with each other, when it's like a slugfest and they're both tired. I'm going to hit you, then you're going to hit me. But this is more of a beginner thing, right? Now, the thing that falls in the middle is counter punching. Counter punching, you're still punching second, or punching last, but as the opponent is going to punch, and you're going to reply, you're going to reply as soon as their punch is done, or right before it's finished. As soon as they throw it, you're going to counter that punch. And that needs a lot more timing than punching second, right? So it's not as obvious that the opponent is done punching, and they might throw a jab and you might counter it. So that's counter punching. Now, the hardest of them all and the toughest is punching with. Punching with is, I see my opponent about to throw the right hand, and I throw my right hand at the same time. I'm not countering it. I'm not punching second, I'm throwing it at the same time, right? So those are the three ways we could kind of reply to punches or deal with punches offensive wise. But today I'm not going to be talking about punching second. I'm not going to be talking about punching with. I'm going to be talking about countering. Now, countering, I already explained what it was. It's punching as soon as someone throws a punch. And countering, there's a lot of science that goes into countering. Now, like I said, it's not the hardest thing to do, but it's not the easiest thing to do. It does take years to start to know how to counter and why to counter. Now, I'm going to talk about common mistakes with countering, and then I'll talk about countering as a whole, and then I'll show you guys some counters and my favorite ones. So the first things first that's common with when fighters try to start countering opponents is they punch too hard. Now, punching hard on a counter is not the way you want to go, because especially against someone that's been fighting or been in the gym, they could see a counter coming. Punching with power is going to slow your counter down. Your opponent might be out of the way, or it might be so obvious because you're throwing so much power into it that they're going to see it and they're going to counter your counter, right? So a counter I'm talking about the first punch of a counter, or the first punch you reply back, you counter with. It has to be sharp, light, and fast or quick. So it's just like, imagine someone taps me on the elbow with the body shot and I catch it on the elbow. It's just a quick touch. You're just zapping them, like pretend you have electricity in your gloves. You're just zapping your opponent real quick. You're just trying to zap them out of what they're trying to do. And then you're going to start throwing your other punches that come after the initial counter. But that first counter shot, don't throw it with power. Don't think about it too much. Just, it's a feeling thing. So you just feel it. You just throw something back. You just zap them real quick. And then after I zap, then I could throw my other punches. But I first have to touch you. No, pause. You first have to touch your opponent real quick just to let them know you could get them. And that you know you could get them. And you shock them for a second. And then you could throw your other punches. All right? So common mistake number one, or the biggest, most general mistake, is countering too hard with the first punch. Now, if you become a good counter puncher, another mistake is relying too much on counter punching. Many fighters, they become exclusively counter punchers, and that they start losing a lot of fights they should not lose, and they start thinking from a fighter's point of view instead of a judge's point of view, if this makes sense. Now, there's two ways that a fight could go, or a fighter could work in a fight. There's the fighter that pushes the fight, and there's the fighter that replies to that. So think Marvin Hagler, he's pushing the fight to you. You're going to try to counter him, for example. You could have two fighters that bring the fight to each other, and you could have two counter punchers that are fighting each other. You could have a come forward fighter and a counter puncher. So the styles make fights. That's where that comes from. But the main thing is, in a fight, it's who's pushing the fight. Usually the person pushing the fight, and I've watched over 1,000 fights by now, and the common theme is when there's no clear winner, the person pushing the fight is going to take the fight because they're the ones pushing the fight. So what is a boxing fight? It's a fight. So are you there to fight? Are you there to initiate a fight? Or are you there to move around and not get hit? So that's where you got to think of when you're thinking counter punching, is you can't become exclusively a counter puncher because you're never initiating the fight, right? So if you never initiate the fight, it's going to be hard for a judge to give you a round when you didn't land a lot of punches, or they're not clean, and then you're like, why did I lose that round? I landed the better punches. But the person bringing the fight to you, it's gonna be on them, or they're gonna have the points because they're creating the fight, right? So you got to remember where you are when you are thinking of counter punching. The other thing is, you got to think of the judges. They're thinking the same thing: who's pushing the fight and who's landing the more shots and all of that. But not the fight isn't just judged on who's landing more punches. It's also who's creating the fight. Now, some other things I want you to think about counterpunching is becoming too much of a counterpuncher, right? And where you stop initiating, right? Now, I'll tell you why this could be bad. Now, think if you're trying to counterpunch and you're fighting and you counterpunch someone too often. So from the first round, they throw a jab, you counter it. They throw a right hand, you counter it. They throw a hook, or you try to counter it. That opponent, if they're not very aggressive, they might stop giving you opportunities to counter. So they might stop throwing punches or leading, and now you're not leading, and it becomes a very boring fight, and it's very difficult to get back into the fight because no one's leading. If you do want to become a good counterpuncher, you do need to know how to lead and to punch first. So that's going to create opportunities for you. So what happens to a lot of counterpunchers is they want the opportunity to come to them, and they wait for that right shot to counter, or they keep countering, and their opponent stops leading, and now they're waiting for an opportunity that they're never going to get because the opponent isn't throwing any punches, right? So you need punches from your opponent coming at you so that you could counter them. Now, a smart counterpuncher knows how to throw the first shot and knows how to bait their opponent into throwing something back at them, and then they can create a counter punch. The most basic setup for this is the jab setup, or the baiting with the jab is me throwing a jab, because when you are starting to fight, you learn that if someone jabs at you, you jab back at them. So I jab on my opponent, and it's just a quick jab, no power behind it. I jab, I wait for their jab, and then when their jab comes, I slip and I throw an uppercut, for example, or I catch it and jab them back, or catch and hook them back. So I baited them into jabbing at me. This could be for any punch. I could drop my right hand and bait them into throwing a left hook, so I could go under the hook and counter them with the right hand, right? Or I could throw a lazy right hand to bait them into countering me with the hook, so I could go under and counter with the right hand. So you have to create opportunities for yourself, and you have to practice this. You're not just going to be able to do it if you've never practiced this, right? So if you do want to become a good or great counter puncher, you do have to know how to lead and to throw first and bait your opponent and things of that nature, right? Now this isn't always going to be what's going to happen. You might fight someone like Joe Frazier, where no matter how many times you counter them, they're going to keep moving forward, so you don't have to worry about punching first. But there are fighters that will stop throwing punches at you, especially if your counters are great or good and they're sharp. They don't want to get hit too, so they might pull back from punching, and that's where the problem comes from. But an aggressive fighter, you could counter them 100 times and they're still going to come forward, so that's not an issue there. Another thing about countering is I want to tell you guys something about countering. It's another thing about countering is if you do it too soon in a fight, like say from the first round, you're gonna help your opponent, and you're gonna help their corner fix their mistake. And what I mean by that is if my opponent comes out for the first round and they're throwing a really bad jab, right? Their jab might be lazy. It might not be that bad, but to me, it might be lazy as a fighter. They might be dropping it, and I might see an opening for a counter that I want to throw. Now, if I counter that jab right from the first round and I counter it hard, what's my opponent's corner going to tell him in between of the first and the second round? Hey, don't throw your jab like that. This guy's looking to counter you, right? So I just helped my opponent fix their mistake, and now I got the remainder of the fight, the 10, 12 rounds that we're going to fight, or 4 or 6 or 8. I got the remainder of the whole fight, and I just took away my opening. Now, what a smart counter puncher does is they pretend they don't see the opening. So my opponent could be making a big mistake by dropping their right hand, and they might be open for a hook, but I might not pay attention to that. I might focus on hitting them to the liver with a body shot, for example, or focus on catching them with the right hand, right, to make them forget about their mistake. Now, towards the middle of the fight, towards the end of the fight, when they're a lot slower, when they've already made the same mistake a lot of times, it's going to be hard for them to fix it. Now I start countering, and now my counters are going to be, they're going to land a lot better, and they're not going to have the mental energy to fix their mistakes. They're just going to take the punches, most likely, and the counter is going to be so much better than countering them when they're fresh and they fix their mistake right away. Right? Now, that's why you don't want to counter right away. Now, the times when you do counter right away is, say my opponent is making a huge mistake, or I know they can't take my power, and I know if they throw a jab and I counter their jab, they're going to get knocked out, for example. I'll do that. But generally, I'm talking about two fighters at the same level. If a fighter is making a mistake, don't correct their mistakes for them. Let them keep making that mistake, let them get comfortable, and then catch them when it's too late for them, when they can't fix that mistake, all right? So that's another thing about counterpunching, is don't counterpunch too often, don't counterpunch too soon, and don't rely heavily on counterpunching. You still have to be an all-around fighter, all right? There's a lot more things I want to talk about, but they just escaped my mind a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to countering each punch, the jab, the right hand, the hooks, the uppercuts, the jab to the body, and then I'll see if I remember the other stuff, all right? But I wanted to get those things out about counterpunching. Okay, now the jab is going to be the punch that you could counter the most or with the most options. And this goes for anything. Any move that you want to do, the jab always has the most options. The jab could be thrown to the most places. It's the most versatile punch and it has the most variety of counters, right? So the basic counter to a jab is letting the jab come to you, you catch it, and you jab back. That's a counter. So boom, boom, I just countered the jab. Now from this position, I could also counter with a hook. This is one of my favorite ones, is when someone throws a jab, catch, and hook. Another one is catch, up jab, catch, jab to the body, catch, a long uppercut. Just from this position, because this is my stance. You could be in this stance and block and jab back, but this is how I do it, right? So those are the things I could counter with my left hand. And also catch, jab the body, I talked about that. The slip jab is more of, it's not a counter, it's more of punching with. So I see you jabbing, I'm gonna slip and jab at the same time. That goes into the timing thing that I talked about in the beginning of the video. Now, from what other counters do I have from the jab? I could slip, come back with the uppercut. I could slip on the inside and throw any punch with the left hand. Body shot, uppercut to the head, left hook, up jab. If you watch the Joe Frazier, Buster Mathis video I did, he does that. He slips on the inside, comes up with the jab. You could slip the jab. No, that's punching with, throwing the right hand while they throw the jab. Silly me. You could roll the jab or lean back from the jab and throw the right hand. You could counter with the uppercut. So the jab can be countered with pretty much any shot that you know. You could counter it with the right hook, but I don't really see, the jab is too quick to be countered by a right hook. But to counter a jab, it has to be quick, right? Because the jab is going to be out and back really quick. You're not going to have time to like, boom, boom, throw a big shot. It's just boom, boom, quick. Like I explained in the beginning of the video, I think I did. Now with the right hand, there's something called riding the jab, where you don't stand like this. You go a little bit more square. You put more weight on the front foot and you keep your back foot elevated a little bit. Now my right shoulder is a little bit ahead, or same level as my left shoulder. It's a little bit ahead, so it's closer to my opponent. I catch the jab and I drop my right hand over theirs, or I could pull back and jab, or pull back and counter with my right hand. So when I want to counter the jab with my right hand, I'm not going to be standing like this, because I'm going to be too far. It's going to take too long. Floyd Mayweather, Muhammad Ali, all these guys that have a good pull counter to the jab, for example, or they could just ride the jab and come over. They're going to square up with you and they're going to look at you like this and they're going to wait for that jab, catch and go. Roy Jones. So that's the way you deal with the jab. Okay. Now there's other counters. You could block and hook, but I just talked about like catching and slipping. That's the most basic, but you could block and do everything I talked about. So you could block the jab, come back with the hook, block, come back with the uppercut, block, come back with the right hand, right? Now the right hand, you could, the basic one is catch or blocking the right hand, throwing the right hand back, right? Now I want you to think about this. You could either lean into the right hand, you could just block it here, or you could lean or roll to the other side, to your right side, if the right hand is being thrown. And I'll show you how to counter or what to reply with each one. So if I know my opponent's right hand isn't that hard and I could take it, I'll lean into it sometimes, right? With my chin tucked, of course. I'll lean into it and I'm going to counter with that same hand because my weight's already here. So like I see the right hand come, I might be here, boom, come back with the uppercut or catch or block it, come back with a hook, right? There's another one where I could just stay where I am, and this usually happens with both hands up, block it, come back with the right hand, right? Now if my opponent throws a hard right hand and it's a dangerous right hand, I don't want to take the full right hand. I'm going to take something off of it. I'm going to roll with it and then throw my right hand. Okay, or I'm going to roll with the shoulder roll, come back with the right hand, right? Now, like the jab, there's a lot of punches you could counter the right hand with, but a counter is basically defense plus offense. So we learned the defense to the right hand in our previous video about defense 2 weeks ago. Now you just do that defense and you add a punch behind it. So I rolled, I add the right hand, right? I slip the right hand, I come back with the uppercut. Slip the right hand, come back with a hook. You could block, come back with the right hand. You could roll, come back with the uppercut, right? You could roll, come back with the hook. This takes time to adjust to. You could go, what else? I talked about slipping. You could pull from the right hand, come back with your own right hand. Okay, so any defense that we talked about in the previous video about the right hand or for the right hand, you just do that plus another punch. From the left hook side, you could, same thing as the right hand, you could lean into the left hook. If it's not that powerful, you could come back with the right hand with the same punch because you're leaning onto that side. You could just take the left hook right here and you could throw a hook, or you could roll with the left hook. If it's really powerful, come back with the left hook. Okay, you could also go under the left hook, come back with the right hand. That's another one. There's another one. Is one of my favorite counters. This is more punching width, but I'm going to show you guys this because this is one of the, I've seen a lot of smart fighters do this. So instead of countering with the hook, when someone's throwing a hook, you catch it right here and you jab a short jab right in their middle, right on their chin or their chest, and it'll catch them almost every time. Because to throw a left hook, you have to open up. And when you open up for a left hook, your whole body's open. If someone jabs at you, it's really going to snap your head back. So when someone opens up with the hook, if you just stay tight and block and jab like that, you're going to catch them. Or you could punch with them. As you see them opening up for the hook, you just catch them with the jab real quick. That's one that I wanted to show you guys real quick. For the uppercuts to the body, same idea, but the uppercuts to the body or the body shots, you kind of lean into them and you just come back with a quick uppercut, come back with a quick uppercut, right? So if you get punched down here, you come up, right? If you get punched up here, you could come down, right? So that's just some common things that you could do. But typically with a body shot, you take it, you come back with the uppercut. You take it, you come back with the uppercut. You could take it here and just come up with this type of shot like that. Or here it's an uppercut, but you're just not twisting your hand. But that's mostly for the body shots. For the right hook, you treat it like between a right hand and a left hook. You have to block it and throw a right hand. You could roll under a right hook. It's pretty dangerous to do any of this. No, right hook you could go under. Come back with the left hook. So pretend left hook, but opposite side. For the body shots, you lean into them more often, or you could twist. So the same way you could either block the hook like this or twist. I could block the body shot like this, or I could twist and come back with the hook. Or if I just lean into that, I could come up with the same hand. Same hand I block with, I come back with. But if I twist, I could come back with the left hook. Jab to the body. The best counter that I've seen from studying film is block and lead, a 45-degree lead punch. So that's kind of like a block and a shot like this. More pro fighters, they'll catch it like this, even though it's dangerous because you're leaving your face open. Catch, and they'll go like this, and that's the best reply to a jab to the body. Right hand to the body, you block it, right hand, or block, right uppercut. It's dangerous because you could get hit with the left hook. But if you've noticed, what I've done with each punch is I just did the defense to it, then added a punch. Now, like I said, the first punch of your countering, now there's two ways you could counter a punch. You could counter with a single reply, or you could counter with a combination. But that first punch has to be quick. It has to be like you're shocking your opponent. I might have said this earlier because I started the video, I stopped, and I'm recording again. So I don't know if I said this, so I'm going to say it again. The first punch of a counter is never too hard. You just want to zap your opponent. You want to hit them quick and just let them know that you could touch them. It throws them off and it lets you know that you could land a punch. I landed it quick. Now I could add my power behind it. So I roll with the right hand. I landed the first quick right hand. Now I could throw the hard uppercut hard and hard, right? So don't throw power on your first counter because it's going to be too slow. it's going to be too obvious. A smart fighter is either going to step back or they're going to see it, they're going to counter your counter. So what you want to do is, if I get touched here with the body shot, is just a quick. Just zap them, and then you could add your other punches after those, right? So counter punching, it's defense plus offense. You want to hit them first quick. And I got this from Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather didn't counter hard. He countered quick at first, and then the following punches would be the hard punches. Counter punching takes a lot of timing, but not as much as punching with the opponent. That takes a little bit more timing, in my opinion, because it's a lot more dangerous. Yeah, I want to say something else about counter punching. I hope to remember right now. Counter punching, countering. So if I talked about this 2 weeks ago in the defense lesson, at first you want to become good at defending in each way against each punch. So like rolling, blocking the right hand, going under the right hand. Then once you become comfortable with using all of the defensive moves against every punch, then you could start just adding a punch after that. Now, countering takes pattern recognition. Countering isn't going to happen when someone throws one shot and I throw back a shot. Countering is someone threw 5 right hands and I'm picking up how they're throwing their right hand, and now I'm going to hit them back, right? So you don't counter the first punch someone throws. So if someone's jabbing at me, I'm not going to counter them from the first round with the jab, unless, like I said, it's obvious mistakes that they're making, especially if it's the right hand. If I'm jabbing back, I'll do that in the first round, but I won't counter with the right hand in the first round. But I wanted to say that countering is about pattern recognition. So I might see that when someone throws the right hand, every time I throw a jab, my opponent tries to counter me with the right hand, right? So every time I throw a jab, they're trying to counter me with the right hand. Every time I throw a jab, they're trying to counter me with the right hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fake the jab. This might be a round or 2 or 3 or 4 after I realize this, and I let them keep doing it. I might fake the jab, block the right hand, or roll, throw my right hand and catch them right after they've thrown theirs. I might notice a pattern in how they throw their hook. They might throw their hook and circle it down, like, I don't know, Joe Frazier, like boom. So after they throw their hook, I might step back from their hook and throw a right hand, because I know they're going to drop their hand after they throw the hook. So counter punching comes from recognition, and the only way you could build up that data in your head is from fighting or sparring a lot. You start learning how to notice these things about your opponents in the ring. There's one more thing I want to talk about, and it's very important. Oh, counter punching, don't use your eyes. So I learned this in my first class in university about sports science. We did this game where you put your hands in the other person's hands and you slap each other's hands. So the professor, he's like, hey, do it with your eyes open. And so the other person goes like this, and you got to pull your hands back before they slap you. I don't know what the game is called. When we used our eyes, it was a lot slower and we got hit often. Then he's like, okay, close your eyes. Now do it. Now, as soon as you felt our classmate's hand leave our hand, we pulled back right away, because the feeling is a lot faster in processing. The brain is a lot faster in processing feeling than seeing. When you're seeing something, you gotta see it, you gotta register what's happening, and then you gotta choose a reply. When you just feel something, you could counter real quick. So now in boxing, you do have eyes. That's a good thing. You're not blindfolded or you don't have your eyes closed. But I'm watching my opponent's chest. I could see all their punches coming from there. So when I'm watching their chest, I could tell that they're throwing a right uppercut to the body, or a left uppercut. So I'm just waiting to feel it. If I don't feel it, I'm not going to counter, right? So I feel it. Once I feel it, then I go, right? The jab, I'm not looking at the jab when I catch it. My hand is here. I'm watching them. If I feel the jab against my hand, then I jab right away. But I'm not going to counter without feeling it first. Okay, your eyes can lie to you. That's why feints work so good. You got to be able, or you got to rely on touch and feeling above seeing. Now, you still need your eyes in a fight, because you got to see what they're going to throw. But I got to feel that punch hit me or touch before I could counter. That's the main point I was trying to point out. because if you use your eyes could lie to you. They might pretend they're going to throw a jab to the body, and then they might throw a hook to the head, right? Or they might jab, but their jab might be short, so it might be a fake jab. So if you don't feel it, I wouldn't counter, okay? That's my spiel on countering. It's defense first plus the offense. It takes time to learn. You don't become indulged, or don't make yourself a counter puncher. Always be able to throw first as well as counter punch, because then when the opponent isn't throwing punches, you got to be able to punch first and take over the fight that way. And yeah, that's my talk about counter punching. If you have any more questions about that, let me know as always in the comments. I'll help you guys out. And thank you for watching, and have a great day, and bye.